longest time I've been trying to get a normal video out here, so I hope this one's gonna work. One of the things I like, and let's not try to say too much, Jesus, there we go already. What I think is very interesting is the falsification of history. Why are they doing this? Because there's a lot of evidence out there that will show you without any reasonable doubt that there is falsification of history. But why are they doing this? But first off, let's show a little bit of the evidence. I'm gonna be pressing this button a lot, and in the meantime trying a little bit out with the effects of this new video program. Well, I've been using for some time. Actually, I got the manual here. Maybe I should read the fucking manual. So I think we are being lied to by the professors, by our teachers, even though they do not know they are telling these lies. And my go-to thing are these three thingies and their protector. We are being taught at school, university, wherever, if you study Egyptology, we are being taught that they are built by the first Egyptian dynasty, which is around 2500, 3000 BC. So that will make them about 5000 years old. I am of the conclusion that the first dynasty, or the first pharaohs, or first Egyptian rulers, that they found them. They were already they were already there. The pyramids and the Sphinx, they were left there by some forgotten civilization. Maybe, don't lose me here, you know, there's a couple of words you can use: Atlantis, UFO, and use those words in normal conversations and you will be put in the corner, you know, with a tinfoil hat. But I got some evidence or some persuasion proof to maybe get you on board with my train of thought. Alright, I'm gonna press that button again. So, according to this graph, so 4000 BC, so that makes about 6,000 years old. But that persuasion proof I can use makes it at least double the amount of time that they were already there. Not they were being built, but they were there. Come to that in a sec. If you look at the graph for 10,000 BC, about that time, what we are being taught, people figured out how to farm and from hunter-gatherer they went to a less nomadic lifestyle. You know, the first civilizations, they sprung up. You can see that Samaria, Egypt. We, as a human, we figured out how to domesticate animals so they stay in one place, so you wouldn't have to hunt them all the time and go from here to there. And figured out how to manipulate crops, you know, wheat, barley, grains, so we could farm, stay in one place, and have a lot more leisure time to figure out other things like astrology and astronomy and stuff like that. The first laws, yeah, that's what started off civilization, according to this graph. So about 10,000 BC. Well, if there were to be a previous civilization, what we don't know about, at least, you know, us common people don't know about. If there was a previous civilization, how would they, you know, leave their mark behind? Because if we were wiped out right now due to any kind of virus or whatever, there'd be no more humans, or maybe a couple left living, and it would repopulate the earth, la-di-da-di-da. in a couple of thousand years, what do you think is going to be left over from any infrastructure, skyscrapers, freeways, anything, metal, plastic? It's all going to be gone, except stone, stone structures. That's still going to be there. Stonehenge, good example. Everybody knows Stonehenge. Fucking the pyramids, all built out of stone, and it's still there. And if I can prove to you or persuade you into looking at my way of viewing at things due to the evidence I'm gonna give you in a couple of seconds, don't you think there might have been a civilization, and there might have been a whole different way of life back then, way more spiritual, way more, in touch with nature? Well, that's another topic. But okay, let me give you some of the persuasion, come to my side, evidence. And before I forget, if I can figure this out, because it's very, very obvious, why is it not so that the history books are being changed? Why are we still teaching everybody the same old bullshit, that the first civilizations were Sumeria, Egypt, that's where it all started? Well, that's about 6,000 BC, 6,000 years ago, 8,000 BC, whatever. But I'm going to show you right now, that the Sphinx is at least 10,000 BC. At least 10,000 BC. Sorry, almost there. But if that proves, and you come to the conclusion as well, like, hey, there might be something there. These civilizations already were way more advanced than they're just figuring out stuff. And if the powers that be, they will know this, because they got thinking heads for themselves. Why are they keeping this from us? Why? What is the big, the big secret? It probably has to do with, keeping people, sheeple, and just, let them believe that we're, coming of age just now. But that's not the fact. Look at this. This man is Professor or Dr. Robert Koch of the Boston University, and he's a attendant at the university, and his specialty is geology. And he published papers about something that was the, how you call it, evidence, the smoking gun, that there's something wrong with the dating of, well, he went with the Sphinx, but probably the Sphinx and the pyramids were there together. It has to do with erosion, and you can see here there's a lot of erosion in what they call the Sphinx enclosure. Normal erosion you would suspect in something like the Sahara Desert is wind and sand erosion, which is horizontal because it's blowing. And what he figured out was this. So in the middle picture of the three, you see a comparison between rain erosion and wind erosion. Wind, which is Sahara, of course, a lot of wind, a lot of sand, a lot of dust storms, it's horizontal. And rain erosion is vertical, and especially this kind of erosion, it's called precipitation erosion, which means it came like rain. So it's not the flooding of the Nile that made this erosion happen, because, well, you can see here that the Nile is rather big, and because of the green areas to the side on the satellite picture, it overflows a lot. But this kind of erosion doesn't happen like that. Well, on the left you see what water erosion, precipitation looks like, and on the right you see what Sahara Desert erosion does. But we all know the Sahara Desert doesn't get a lot of rain these days. And to get that kind of erosion, it has to be a wet climate for probably, they guessed, around 1,000 years of rain. Now that's weird, because the last time it was that wet in the Sahara Desert, when it was like a moderate climate, especially it was a wet climate, was about 12,000 years ago. And this coincidentally falls at the same timeline as the end of the Ice Age, which is rather abrupt. In Greenland they made drilling, and they can take cores of ice in cylinders. They take them out, and there are air bubbles trapped in there, and you know, in the laboratories they check isotopes and whatever, and they can measure what kind of temperature it was, what kind of precipitation there was, what the climate was, which is for the last 250,000 years. That's how long they've been drilling. They can look back for 250,000 years. The last 8,000 years have never been so steady. Before that, it was going up and down, temperature way up and down. So this whole climate change BS, man-made, climate change, it does. Just look at the graph. But that global warming, man-made, Greta Thunberg, but yeah, let's not burn my hands on that. Not in this episode. But check the graph. So if you look all the way to the right, for me it's left, well that way then, all the way to the right it says 0, little ice age. Yeah, that 0 is not happy birthday dear Jesus. No, that's before present nowadays. So that's why at that boundary about, what is it, 12,500, so that's 10,000 years BC. That's 12,500 years ago. You see that spike going up? Well, something happened there, something rather drastic. The temperature just shot up. It just shoots up with, what is it? Is it Celsius? No, it's Fahrenheit, but still it goes from, what is it, 55, let's say 60, it goes all the way to 35. You know, the 25 Fahrenheit, that's, I don't know, it's like 10, 12, 13 degrees Celsius. It shoots up in, what, 100 years or so? You know what the hell happened with the sea level, you know? And of course, like nowadays, most cities and civilizations, they live around the coastline, because that's where the abundance of food and fish, and that's where you want to be, you know, for a healthy civilization. So in no time, sea levels went up, temperature shot up, and what happens when the temperature shoots up? Ice melts, and probably something happened at the end of the Ice Age. Moment! Moment betekent even wachten, maar dat maakt niet uit.
Hey,
Moment betekent even wachten, maar what's up?
Mijn flashplayer is geblokt.
Je wat?
Mijn flashplayer is geblokt.
Geblokt?
Ja, maar ken je
Hoe
dat?
bedoel je geblokt?
Ja, hij is gewoon geblokt. Ik ken dat, die flashplayer doe ik al recht, maar hij moet op normaal toestaan.
Ik kom even kijken, jij pakt even mijn sleutel.
Dat jij die blokkade erop kan halen.
Nou ja, geblokt heb ik nog nooit van gehoord.
Ja, hij is geblokt, die flashplayer.
Ach godzang, ik ben nog steeds het opnemen.